be seated. Let me take this opportunity while some of you are getting to your seats to ask you kindly to turn off your cell phones, your PDAs, and other communication devices so that we can all enjoy the program. Thank you very much. Good morning. Welcome to our annual convocation to mark the official beginning of the new academic year. Mr. President, with classes having begun, I now declare the 2012-2013 academic year in session. At this time, we will have the opening prayer by the Reverend Ernest Andrew Brooks III, Associate Campus Minister and member of the Morehouse class of 2005. Reverend Brooks.
As we prepare for prayer, I would like to inform you that Dr. Edward Bloom, who is professor of history at San Diego State University, will be in the lobby of the chapel immediately following convocation, signing his latest book, The Son of God, Race and Religion, focusing on the color of Christ and its nature in American religious history. He will also be having a series of lectures and discussions throughout the day that you can find more information about. Let us assume a posture of prayer. Whether this is year 1 as a new student, year 4 as a graduating senior, or year 24 as a member of the Morehouse College faculty or staff, we find ourselves similarly situated this morning at the base of the mountain of a new academic year. Though classes have commenced, programming is underway, organizations are coalescing around new missions and leadership goals, and collegial bonds have been formed and renewed. We are only at the beginning of this exciting and challenging journey. Dear God, we present ourselves to you this morning, realizing that there will be challenging terrain ahead. As we climb to new heights and strive to reach new vistas of personal and professional success, remind us of the value of teamwork and collaboration. As we find our individual stores of energy becoming depleted, remind us of the plateaus and renewal stations that have been strategically positioned to restore our strength for this journey. Lord, as we climb this academic, social, professional, personal, and interpersonal mountain, do not allow us to become so consumed by the labor that comes with growth and development that we fail to celebrate our small victories and enjoy the moments of levity and joy that we find en route to our ultimate destination. May the vision of what success looks like remain ever before us. May the sensation of what success feels like ignite every fiber of our being, and may the hope of what success means for ourselves, our families, our communities, our society, and for future generations compel us to trust that the God who led us here will also lead us with faithfulness and integrity to the pinnacle of our strivings. There will be more mountains to climb and summits of achievement to celebrate, so let us not become so discouraged by the storms, detours, valleys, ledges, and seemingly insurmountable obstacles that will surely prevent themselves on this journey, that we look up at some point in the future and realize with despairing anguish and lament that as others were climbing, we remained at the base of this mountain, dreaming about the possibilities of what could have been if only we had been willing to commit ourselves fully to this journey. This is our collective prayer. Amen.
We will now have the presentation of colors.
Present. Colors. Ready. Cut. Right turn. March. Forward. March.
please take your seats quickly and quietly. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce members of the platform. As I call your names, please stand and remain standing until all persons have been introduced. I will not call the names of persons who will be introduced later as participants on the program. I ask the audience to hold your applause until all persons have been introduced. From my right, Mr. Henry Goodgame, Director of Alumni Relations. Mr. Honore Washington, President of the Student Government Association. Dr. John K. Haynes, Dean, Division of Science and Mathematics. Dr. John Williams, Dean, Division of Business and Economics. Dr. William Bynum, Vice President, Student Services. Mr. Andre Bertram, Vice President, Campus Operations. Ms. Sheila Jacobs, Interim Vice President for Business and Finance and CFO. Robin Crittenton, Esquire, General Counsel. Dr. Sherry Turner, Executive Director, AUC Consortium. Let's give all of our members of the platform party a hand. At this time, I would like to recognize other persons who are with us today. Will all members of the Morehouse Board of Trustees stand and be recognized? Will all members of the alumni stand and be recognized? Members of the faculty, please stand and be recognized. Morehouse staff members, will you please stand and be recognized? Is Dr. Wiley Perdue, former president, acting president of Morehouse College, is he here today? I do see Dr. Samuel DuBois Cook and his lovely wife, Mrs. Cook, former president of Dillard University. Dr. Cook, would you please stand and be recognized? First Lady of the college, Dr. Cheryl Franklin, please. Is Mrs. Yvonne Gloster here? Mrs. Gloster is the wife of the former president, Hugh M. Gloster. We also have in our midst today several friends from Coca-Cola. Ms. Latasha White and Ms. Adrienne Johnson, are you here today? Mr. Greg Moore, Commissioner of the SIAC, the Southern Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, if he's here. Ms. Maroon and White and her court, if they are here. The newest members of the Morehouse family, the men of the class of 2016 and transfer students who are here for the first time this semester, please stand and be recognized. Last, but very definitely not least, for the men of the class of 2013, our seniors, please stand and receive much deserved applause. I hope that all of you are doing what is necessary so that we can greet you again at the end of this academic year, okay, and recognize you. Okay. Let me say a word or two about the occasion. At Morehouse, we mark the beginning of every new academic year with a ceremonial assembly of the members of the college community: students, faculty, administration, alumni, and friends. Through this ritual, we recommit ourselves to the mission of the college and the continuing pursuit of excellence in those endeavors that support that mission. The formality of this occasion is a testament to the seriousness of our purpose. At the head of this morning's processional was the mace, carried by our Grand Marshal. Carved into the mace are a series of symbols and icons representing rebirth and regeneration, spiritual continuity, and excellence in all things. My colleagues and I are wearing our academic regalia. We have asked you, our students, to dress in shirt and tie. These garments are symbols of our professional preparation for and your eagerness to meet the tasks and challenges of this new academic year. But they represent more than that. They also remind us to expect academic excellence from ourselves and each other in the adventure of discovery and learning. The college's theme for this academic year is Men of Morehouse, discovering truth as a liberating force and freedom as a moral responsibility. Taken in part from the college's mission statement, this theme guides this year's signature assembly program, Crown Forum. At Morehouse College, we all must be committed to affirming excellence in every aspect of our daily activities and recognizing the significance and consequences of every choice that we make. This commitment involves a partnership between and among faculty, students, and staff. Thus, today, we ask every member of the Morehouse family to pledge his or her personal commitment to the success of that partnership. President Franklin, our confidence that Morehouse College will meet the challenges of the 2012-2013 academic year rests on the strength of those commitments. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the occasion. We will now listen to the anthem, Amazing Grace, with Tassan Swift, class of 2013, accompanied by Dr. David Oliver, our college organist, and performed by the Morehouse College Glee Club under the direction of Dr. David Morrow, class of 1980.
Amazing grace, how sweet
I think after some point, you run out of superlatives to try to describe this Glee Club. And I think at that point, you listen and you're moved. I'm moved. At this point in the program, it says that I'm to introduce our speaker for the occasion. However, I don't believe that this speaker requires a lengthy introduction to this audience. He's already been formally introduced to the newest members of our academic village in August during the opening assembly of new student orientation. And there is a bio sketch in today's program, which I invite you to look at your leisure. In the main, a college president is qualified for the job by his credentials and his experience. Robert Michael Franklin came to this college with sterling credentials: an undergraduate degree from Morehouse, graduate degrees from Harvard and the University of Chicago, an international reputation as a scholar, and numerous honorary degrees. He brought with him a wealth of experience as a distinguished faculty member, public intellectual, a not-for-profit board member, and as the former president of a sister institution of higher education. Last year, our speaker announced his transition from president to professor, effective the end of the 2012 year. Fittingly, we turn now our attention from the man's credentials to his accomplishments. Dr. Franklin has raised and is still raising money. His successes include major gifts from the Coca-Cola Company, Delta Airlines, the Lilly Endowment, and most recently, the Walton Family Foundation. On his watch, the college has made great progress toward internationalization. A new program in Chinese studies has been established. And more students are studying and traveling abroad. More faculty members are engaged in international education programs. A new program has been developed in cinema, television, and emerging media studies, the CTEMS program. However, of all of his accomplishments, and they are many, the one that I believe will be the most associated with Dr. Franklin's tenure is a resurrection of the Morehouse man as a Renaissance man with a social conscience. With great passion, he has reminded us of the centrality of student development to the Morehouse mission and has highlighted the purpose underlying the student development model that we have here at the college. In the final analysis, it seems to me that the enduring legacy of the 5 Wells will be that re-emphasis on student development and that recognition that we are developing Renaissance men with a social conscience. So, ladies and gentlemen, and especially men of Morehouse, I invite you to rise and to welcome to the podium our president, Dr. Robert Michael Franklin. Dr. Franklin.
Thank you a great deal, Provost Sheftall. To trustees, faculty, students and administrators, our staff and alumni, parents and friends of this great college, and to this extraordinary graduating class of 2013, we are proud of you. I would like to urge all of the men of 2013 and indeed all of the members of the Morehouse community to learn and commit to memory all of the stanzas of Lift Every Voice and Sing. Now that you have mastered dear old Morehouse, use some of your memory bank to store Lift Every Voice and Sing. With James Weldon Johnson and J. Rosamond Johnson, those two brothers were challenged in the 1920s to write a memorable hymn for a high school commencement in Jacksonville. And Lift Every Voice and Sing is what emerged. They couldn't have known that it would emerge as the lasting hymn, indeed came to be known as the Negro National Anthem. And I want you to know that song and be able to recite it. A special word of appreciation to the First Lady, my dear wife and friend and partner of these many years, Dr. Cheryl Franklin, for your special touch here at Morehouse and everywhere you go and we go. We thank God for your ministry. Brothers, where would we be without sisters, partners who challenge us? And I also note today the presence of a very special spouse. Our honoree today, General James Hall, the class of 1953, is joined by his lovely wife, Helen Hall, who has been a great supporter of Morehouse College. God bless you, Helen Hall. Thank you. And then as you see seated as a trinity there, another very special woman in the life of men of Morehouse, Billy Aaron, a trustee, a dedicated philanthropist, a media pioneer here in the city of Atlanta, and an extraordinary advisor and friend to Morehouse College. God bless you, Billy Aaron. Thank you. Well, you've heard me mention on many occasions that the word vocation is derived from the Latin word calling, and hence convocation, con meaning with, is a word of calling together. But note some other interesting derivatives of this root. Invocation, as we offer prayer, invocation is to call in. Evocation, to call out. And then my favorite, revocation, to call back, something you never want to hear pronounced on your college degree. When Benjamin Elijah Mays was a doctoral student at the University of Chicago, and gentlemen remember he took 2 degrees at Chicago in 1925, a master's degree, returned to Morehouse and taught, and then 10 years later earned his PhD from the University of Chicago. At that point, he was already dean of the School of Religion at Howard University. While a student at Chicago, Mays learned from his university president, the famed young Robert Maynard Hutchins. And regarding his time at Chicago, Robert Maynard Hutchins said these words: "Our idea there was to start a big argument about higher education and try to keep it alive." I find that remarkable. To start a big argument about higher education and try to keep it alive. But how is that done? First, let's consider the nature of an argument, and then ponder how to keep one alive. Now, one of my professors at Chicago was the British philosopher Stephen Toulmin. Toulmin was famously interested in the structure and dynamics of arguments. While most of Chicago at the time was focused and centered around the metaphor of conversation, a more genteel art and form of talking, you've heard me talk quite a bit here about the genius of what happens at Morehouse. Great teachers, great students engaged in great conversations. That is part of the genius of this college. But Toulmin pushed beyond conversation and he talked about the importance of formulating persuasive, compelling, high-impact claims which could move others to action. He was interested in the art of argument. Here I refer not to what passes for argument in most college dorms or in our CAF. This is more than high voltage, high volume exercises in emotional ventilation and vacuous rhetoric. More than Morehouse men who enjoy the sound of their own voices. No, this is the disciplined, data-rich, and carefully formulated exercise in logic, analysis, and rhetoric. Tolman said that an argument, like a thesis paper, has several formal elements. And for simplicity's sake, I call attention to only three: claims, data, and warrants. For claim, he says that that's a statement that you're asking another person to accept. For instance, Shakespeare is the greatest writer in the English language. Or Kanye West is the best living rapper today. But, you awaken to that. But a claim can also take the form of actions you want others to accept and enact. For instance, you should drink green tea, or you should clean up your office or dorm room, or you should rush for my fraternity. Now, many people start with a claim and place it before a listening audience, but then they find often the claim is challenged. That's certainly a feature of debate on Brown Street, isn't it? If you ask me to do something or accept something, I may not simply accept it on face value, and I may demand why I should agree with you. I'll ask you to prove your claim. And this is where the second element of a formal argument comes into play. So there's a claim, but then data. Data are hard facts, the foundation underwriting claims. They are the basis of real persuasion. Facts and data are the truth on which a claim is based. For example, green tea has antioxidant properties that tend to improve heart health. But then that brings us from claims to data to warrants, or the rationale, the connecting logic and persuasive rhetoric. A warrant links the data and other grounds to the claim, legitimizing the claim by showing the data to be relevant. The warrant may be explicit or unspoken and implicit, and it answers the question, why does that data mean your claim is true? For example, drinking green tea makes people feel healthier. But let's return to this notion of Hutchins and starting an argument about higher education and keeping it alive, because I think that's what we've been doing at Morehouse. Indeed, to be worthy of the name college, we must continue to be a community of free and open inquiry and informed argument. But will you do your part in this academic year to keep the argument alive? 146 years ago, our ancestors started an argument about Morehouse as a center of renaissance and renewal and rebirth for people that had been a proud and independent African people, and later stolen, sold, and enslaved, and only recently freed for self-determination. They started an argument in 1867, and successive generations have kept it alive. You and I, we added to that argument, adding in a society that doubts and discounts African American male capacity, personal responsibility, and dignity. We argue that Morehouse men would be Renaissance men with social conscience and global perspective, serving and uplifting the oppressed. We claimed that the 5 wells are the foundations of leadership and the best of the Morehouse mystique. For to be well-read is better than being narrowly focused and highly specialized. To be well-spoken is supreme to being inarticulate and crude. To be well-traveled and acquainted with other cultures, languages, and belief systems is to be desired more than being parochial. To be well-dressed is better than being ill-suited for the occasion. You will recall that that element of our argument in 2009 ignited a national conversation on college campuses about decorum on the university campus. But I believe Morehouse emerged from that era as a trend leader and not a follower. And to be well-balanced with a healthy mind in a healthy body governed by healthy values is better than a life of imbalance and extremes. Now, we have not staked these claims about Morehouse as the center of a renaissance, producing Renaissance men in the 5 wells without offering data. We've offered the data of our thousands of alumni who today are making a positive impact in every walk of life. More black men graduate from Morehouse College in a normal year than all the black men who graduate from the Ivy League combined. And speaking of the Ivy League, in the Wall Street Journal's list of 50 colleges and universities that are the most productive feeder schools to the nation's elite medical, business, and law schools, Morehouse College was number 29 of 50 and one of only 3 Southern schools. We have argued that an all-male school is an ideal environment to show the world that gay men and straight men could relate to each other with respect and civility. We've had our diversity challenges in this area, like other institutions, but I believe we are a better and a stronger institution today since we started that conversation years ago. Morehouse faculty have started an argument about the nature and purpose of liberal arts learning, cautioning all of us not to go further in pre-professionalization, but to reemphasize and reclaim the habits of critical thinking and the value of contemplation as a mark of the educated mind and the higher life. Morehouse students have advanced the argument, while other students on other campuses have seen their colleges as places to overindulge and become narcissistic, self-lovers. Morehouse students, like students in the Bonner and Adams Scholars, Water Wars of Atlanta, Safe Space, SGA, EDGE, CASA, the fraternities, and many, many others, are doing their part to improve our school and to transform the world. And we celebrate you, students. Morehouse. Indeed, Morehouse is a national treasure. Oprah Winfrey put it best when she said, when you empower a black man, you empower his family, you empower his sons and his daughters, you light up the world. I like that metaphor, Oprah. Light up the world. So if you brothers don't watch Oprah or you should tune in now and then. Because Oprah Winfrey is the single most generous contributor to Morehouse College in the history of this school. Gentlemen, we are doing something no other school in America is doing. At a time when many high school districts are graduating half or fewer than 10 out of every 10 young men that enroll, Morehouse is admitting the best and brightest. admitting high performers with high promise and some diamonds in the rough, and bringing them together to challenge and transform one another. A unique brotherhood emerges in that context, amidst that social chemistry. We don't simply want the richest and sons of the most privileged. We prefer the diversity of background and outlook that has always distinguished Morehouse College. And that's what makes us such a special, inclusive community of leadership, formation, and justice. But in recent years, we have seen new challenges to our value proposition. New counter-arguments have emerged that threaten not only Morehouse, but all liberal arts colleges in the nation. We have seen stiff recruiting competition from wealthier schools for our core demographic, threatening to outbid us for students. But we will not concede that ground. Morehouse, we argue, is the best place for boys to become men and men to become leaders. And Morehouse is the only place in the world that can produce Morehouse men. This is where students receive a unique ensemble of assets and experiences that provide the Morehouse man with that distinct psychological advantage. These include an intellectually rigorous curriculum, a brilliant faculty, cultural identity formation, an opportunity to encounter up close and personal some of the world's thought leaders and change agents, and a national brotherhood of alumni who will support you and stand with you. And on top of all of that, a platinum-plated brand that will open doors no man can shut. But in 2010 and 2011, we saw two challenging years during which enrollment declined, and consequently revenues and budgets were impacted. A global economic crisis has battered even the wealthiest and most famous institutions, and it has challenged us, reduced our endowment, which is only now recovering to pre-recession levels. We have attracted more donors, as Dr. Sheftal noted, including more foundations, new corporations, government grants, and new alumni, giving from 17 to 38%. But giving has been relatively flat in this economy. To be sure, these are and have been challenging times. And unfortunately, a few naysayers have come out of the woodwork. Naysayers who hate HBCUs have seized opportunistically upon this temporary period of adjustment to declare that HBCUs should have no future. But I beg your pardon. We are Morehouse, and we are not going anywhere. This is the international headquarters of black male achievement. And so we are addressing our challenges and will come forth stronger and wiser than ever before. We are working our plan to grow enrollment responsibly. We're bringing new investors into our fundraising portfolio. Recently, you heard a Zimbabwean billionaire committed to supporting 40 students at Morehouse College. The Milwaukee Public Schools and local corporations have stepped up and said, we will support local scholars from Milwaukee, and we are leveraging and replicating that model throughout the country. This faculty has continued, despite difficult times, to attract 6- and 7-figure gifts to uplift humanity, advance new knowledge, and support this college. And there is a role for every one of the 11,000 alumni who love their college. Now is the time to stand up and become an active recruiter for your college. Now is the time to put on your marketing caps and get out and spread the word about this great college. Now is the time to step forth, write your check, and help create a better future. The British philosopher Alfred North Whitehead said, "The task of a university is the creation of the future." And it is your privilege now to become involved. I challenge students to lead the effort by earning the best grades possible and sending a few positive tweets into the social media universe about your college experience. I challenge faculty to rededicate yourselves to educating and nurturing these young leaders and yield not to despair. I challenge trustees to make new friends for the college and raise new dollars to create a Morehouse future. One of my great joys has been to re-engage the symbols of Morehouse College, especially our college seal and the biblical elements and motif you find in that seal. Clouds of despair, a rising sun, and the rays that emanate out. Rays representing each and every one of you who graduates and goes out into the world. And then that Latin motto from the verse in Genesis 1 and 3, et facta est lux. And then there was light. The ancient Hebrew story of creation in Genesis offers that God was surrounded by chaos. Now, you may not believe the ancient story, but it is a provocative picture of how origins of the universe occurred. And at least in this ancient culture, they believed that chaos surrounded the deity. And it was the deity's responsibility to speak to the chaos. Chaos wanted to remain in darkness, for darkness and ignorance is the workshop of chaos. But God spoke to the chaos and said, "Let there be light." Chaos tried to hold on to darkness, tried to keep people ignorant, tried to keep political parties fighting and arguing. But somebody said, "Let there be light." Et facta est lux. So I'm challenging you young men today as you prepare to go forth. Speak truth to the chaos. Call it out. Let there be peace. Et facta est pax. Let there be faith. Et facta est fide. Let there be wisdom. Et facta est prudentia. Let there be justice. Et facta est equitas. Let there be Morehouse. Et facta est the house. Call it out. Call it out. Call it out.
Thank you, President Franklin. Thank you, Glee Club. President Franklin, you didn't just throw the gauntlet down, you stomped it. There is no way that we could walk out of this hall this evening, this morning, without accepting that challenge. You and you alone can present that challenge in that way, and we do accept it. We will meet that challenge as this year goes on and as Morehouse advances into its future. Thank you for such a stirring message. If you will now, Mr. President, please join me at the podium. And General Hall, will you please come forward? General Hall is a member of the class of 1957. Inadvertently in the program, I think we indicated the year in which he arrived at Morehouse and not the year that he left.
Morehouse College prides itself on instilling in its students the desire to make meaningful contributions in their communities, as well as to the institution that nurtured them. And when our alumni and friends engage in dedicated service, we are honored to recognize them for their noble endeavors. Today, for the first time, it is my privilege to present the Presidential Renaissance Medallion in acknowledgement of continued service to the college and to the global community. This award, the highest issued by the president of the college, is presented to individuals who may have previously received an honorary degree, but whose work continues to advance Morehouse and society at large. Those who receive this honor will have proven their commitment to uplifting humanity and demonstrated excellence in all they do. General Hall, will you stand at attention? General James R. Hall, a distinguished member of the Morehouse College class of 1957, seems never to run out of ways to uphold the institution's legacy of excellence. As a member of the Board of Trustees, he has established policy, advanced the college's resources, and participated in a number of professional search committees. He has also previously served as the president of the National Alumni Association. General Hall, who previously received an honorary degree, is a retired lieutenant general of the United States Army. He's an outstanding Morehouse man, and we salute him for his ongoing commitment to his alma mater. General Hall, in recognition of your ongoing contributions to Morehouse and the community at large, it is my privilege to present to you the Morehouse College Presidential Renaissance Medallion. Congratulations, Dr. Hall.
We now ask Dr. Ann Watts, Associate Vice President for Academic Affairs, to come forward to announce the Vulcan Materials Company. Dr. Watts will announce the Vulcan Materials Company Teaching and Excellence Award.
Thank you, Dr. Sheftal. Ever since its founding, Morehouse College has been known for outstanding teachers and outstanding teaching, and today, 145 years later, in 2012, outstanding teaching is still a hallmark at Morehouse College. For the past 9 years, Morehouse College has received support from the Vulcan Materials Company, Southeast Division, and the Georgia Independent Colleges Association to honor a faculty member for outstanding teaching. The faculty member who receives the Vulcan Materials Company Teaching Excellence Award at Morehouse College must be recommended by a division dean or department chair, or a faculty member who has served as a faculty member of the year. A nominee must meet the following criteria. He or she must be an outstanding teacher as evidenced by peer review and student evaluations, must have provided service to the college as evidenced by service on committees developing and or participating in initiatives important to the life of the college and in other relevant activities, must have provided service to the community as evidenced by developing and participating in community activities and programs that are designed to make life better for others, and must have provided service to the profession as evidenced by attendance at conferences, participation on panels, presentation of scholarly papers, and the like. The winner of this prestigious award receives a check in the amount of $1,000 and a beautiful certificate as a signal of this honor. The 2011 and 12 Morehouse Faculty Member of the Year was Dr. U.Z. Brown. Will others of you who have served, who has been a faculty member of the year, whether from the Vulcan Materials Company or from other supporter, please stand and be recognized. All faculty members of the year. Thank you. President Franklin, Provost Sheftall, in recognition of outstanding contributions to undergraduate education, student learning, and campus life, the Vulcan's Materials Company and the Georgia Independent Colleges Association are pleased to present its Teaching Excellence Award to the Morehouse College 2012 and 2013 Outstanding Faculty Member of the Year, one who is a scholar, author, proposal writer, and program director, community volunteer, leader on many fronts, and teacher of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds who sing his praises the world over. Dr. John W. Handy, Professor of Economics. Please come forward, Dr. Handy.
After the singing of the college hymn, we ask the audience to remain seated. Dr. Ann Watts will give instructions for the recessional and for students to access the scanners. We will now have the singing of the college hymn. Whoops, I'm sorry. My mistake. Somebody described my job once. If the president is the conductor of the train, I have to see that the train runs on time. I got a little ahead of the schedule. Please come forward.
As the Chung family is joining us on the stage, Mr. President, could you also accompany them on the other side of the easel? Today we want to pause in gratitude for and in tribute of the life and legacy of Mr. Hoen Chung. For the past 25 years, Mr. Chung was our official oil portrait artist for the chapel and the college. His paintings of presidents and Nobel Prize winners and civil and human rights heroes line both sides of the chapel hall up into the lobby and in many other buildings on campus. In all, he painted 177 oil portraits in our 25-year partnership. Dean Carter has said that these portraits are the stained glass windows of the chapel, bringing the light of these remarkable souls into our midst as we gather. Mr. Chung's unique ability to capture the spirit and the essence of his subjects was a hallmark of his work. His career spanned over 50 years, and he painted thousands and thousands of paintings. It is not often that one is able to observe someone engaged so deeply in their vocation, where you can truly witness that it is a calling from God. Mr. Chung was a painter to the core of his being. He approached every new campus as it was his first, with awe and with wonder. And he completed each painting as if it were his last, putting all that he knew and all that he was into the work in front of him. Watching Hoen at work can best be described as observing the transcendent joy of the creative spirit in action. Hoen was a devoted father and husband, a man of character and deep faith, and a good friend. We will miss him, but we will always have his presence with us, emanating the light from these portraits. Immediately after this Crown Forum, you are invited to join us in the African American Hall of Fame above the lobby of the chapel, where we have an exhibit of some of Hoen's other non-Morehouse paintings. And now we will unveil a collage of Mr. Chung's Morehouse collection, created by our own David Collins, as a gift of gratitude to the Chung family, along with a letter from President Franklin. Mr. President, will you please do the unveiling?
Again, we want to thank the Chung family for being here and for sharing Mr. Chung with us all these many years. Thank you very much. We will now sing the college hymn. We ask the audience to be seated following the singing of the hymn, and Dr. Watts will give instructions about the recessional for students and scanners.
Yeah.
The audience should be seated. No scanners should be turned on, and no line should be formed. Thank you very much. Men of Morehouse, please be seated in honor and recognition of the recessional, and please conduct yourselves in your usual decorous manner. Those of you who do not have ID cards should come to the front of the stage, this is after the recessional, to sign in with Miss Beverly Key. Please bring your ID cards to each Crown Forum to access the scanners. Ushers, please clear the aisles. The platform party will exit at stage left through the doors to the chapel library for disrobing. The faculty and staff will recess immediately after the platform party, followed by the men of the senior class. Our guests and other members of the audience should exit through the front doors of this building. Thank you very much.